All right. So I covered market research and segmentation. This is just basic segmentation of users based on either gender, income, ethnicity, education, location, interests, lifestyle, all of this. So either geographic or demographic or behavioral segmentation. And the second one is customer journey mapping, which is basically the entire life cycle of a customer. First, the customer becomes aware of the product and then starts engaging with the product. For example, the person downloads the Swiggy app and then places his first order and then starts to love the entire journey, starts to love the design, the UX, the process, and realizes that Swiggy provides a lot of value for the person, and that is where the person becomes excited, and the person starts to order more and more, and he ascends the ladder, which means that he orders again and again and becomes a regular customer. And once the person starts to enjoy ordering from Swiggy, the person starts to advocate. The person tells other tells his or her friends, and then makes other people aware of this application. And finally, starts to promote through sharing referral codes and sending messages in a WhatsApp group or something like that. So all that is the customer life cycle. All right. Any questions still here? So I'll start with pain points and prioritization today. Okay, if there are no questions, I'll move on. So once you've identified that who are your customers, right? What is the purpose of the first two steps? It is identifying who are the customers that you want to target and what are their needs. And this is where we start to identify their pain points. What are their needs? What are their pain points? What are the use cases that we need to target? So that is where we use concepts such as action priority matrix or RICE prioritization framework. Now these are very famous frameworks. The first one is action priority matrix. So let's say you have some pain points that you identified, right? You've identified that your customer needs this thing. Let's say your customer has some problem in messaging people, right? And then you think of something like WhatsApp, which makes messaging very easy. It makes messaging simpler. So this is just like this is a project basically, and you would put that project into one of these four buckets. So let me explain what these buckets are. So this is the impact versus effort graph. When you have something that takes very low effort, some project which takes very low effort and takes very low and but has a very low impact also, that will be called a fill-in. So it is just like a low effort and low impact kind of thing, and it will just be like a filler or so a small fill-in kind of a thing, right? Second is a thankless task, which requires a lot of effort but has very low impact. And for example, new development framework, they can be very real life examples. Now I think US built a $17 billion bridge somewhere, which was widely criticized, and that was just like a thankless task. It was a $17 billion bridge, but it remains empty. No vehicle, so no, only 2 or 3 vehicles pass through that bridge in 1 hour or so. So that way, that was a thankless task. All right, okay. So that is a thankless task. These are two things, two types of projects. Now, when you have projects which have very high impact, that can either be a quick win, which means it has a very low effort and is a quick win basically, right? It is very self-explanatory that you apply very low effort, but the impact is very high. Can someone give me an example here for a quick win? Any app example or any real life project or anything that you've come across?
So, can we say that finding a new source of oil or natural gas, could that be a quick win?
That can definitely be a quick win because the impact is high. But are you sure that the effort will be low? Depends. Someone might get lucky, right? That someone might get lucky and might find a source of oil, not in his backyard, but I mean in some place, in some common place. And I've seen people finding gold in their backyard, digging after digging a lot and all sort of stuff. But yeah, that is definitely possible.
Apps such as Twitter.
Uh, okay, let's see. So Twitter has high impact. Yes, very true. Does building Twitter require low effort? That is subjective. Now depends on the team. Depends on how many people are building Twitter. Requires how much effort it requires.
I mean, as compared to other social media apps, it has very less functionalities, but it's still very popular.
True. Yeah, I think you can classify it as a quick win. Now, when you talk about Twitter, I'll tell you a very similar example, and you will be able to relate better. Now, WhatsApp has now I think WhatsApp the team size of WhatsApp has increased, but earlier, for many years, the past 4 or 5 years, it had only 50 to 60 people total. And you know that WhatsApp is the most widely used social media messaging platform, right? Only 50, 60 people building it. All of them are QA testers, which means that all of them are quality assurance testers. Most of them are QA testers. Very few business people, very few product folks. Even the founders are QA testers. So it is definitely a very low effort game, right? And the impact is real high. Like it is higher than anything else. I think 2 billion people use WhatsApp. So 2 billion people using WhatsApp and only 50 people building it. Can you imagine the kind of quick win this is? Even if those 50 people are spending 24 hours a day, let's say, they'll not be able to spend 24 hours, but let's say they work for 16 hours a day. Even then, 15 to 16 per day is very less as compared to the kind of impact it is having, right? So it is definitely a quick win. WhatsApp is a very brilliant example of this quick win thing. And quick win is a project basically, right? WhatsApp is not a project any longer. WhatsApp was a project in 2012, 13, whenever it was launched. But when you talk about a quick win, it should be some. It can be a better example would be a feature. For example, let's say I introduce a small feature in WhatsApp, like WhatsApp Pay, and that feature is being used by let's say 2 billion people, and on every transaction I charge let's say $0.5, right? It is definitely a quick win, right? Because there'll be a lot of revenue that is generated, and a lot of people are going to use it, and it requires very low effort because again, we just need to link it with UPI and all. So, and building that feature is typically what a PM does. So there would be some PM who would have built WhatsApp Pay, and would have. I think it's a big hit for WhatsApp. Reels definitely. I think Reels is another very good example. Depends actually how much effort Reels required. It does not look like a very complicated feature, but yeah, I mean, not aware of the kind of effort that Reels required. Similarly, Shorts. So Shorts and Reels are essentially the same. Okay, hiding dislike count in YouTube. Very pertinent example. I think makes sense because low effort definitely. Just need to disable one. Just need to write one line of code and disable dislike count. So almost zero effort and very high impact. Why? Because there would be a specific class of influencers that would probably not want dislikes, or let's say a specific set of people who would not want to see the dislike count. So totally possible. I think this is another good example. Okay, filters. Filters is, I'm not sure if it is a low effort task because I think there's a lot of effort that is required. There are a lot of filters you need to keep them updated. Then building a filter, I'm not sure how much effort it requires. Might require high effort as well. So slightly subjective. I think you should talk to some Instagram PM or Snapchat PM for this. I'm sure the conversation would be very interesting. Yeah, but let's see. Second one in the high impact category is major project. Now, this you'll have a lot of examples here. Most of the projects are high effort and high impact kind of projects, right? For example, there's an entire company devoted by Google. It's just like a sister subsidiary of Google. Can anyone guess the name? Does anyone know the name of that company or that arm of Google, which works on high effort, high impact projects? No, Alphabet is the biggest. It is basic. Google is one part of Alphabet, so Alphabet is a bigger firm. So it is the Moonshot Factory. No, YouTube is not the one. It is the Moonshot Factory. It is something like X Moonshot Factory. So this is one place where the most brilliant people are working on the most brilliant ideas. They are spending a lot of time and effort, and they're working on things which can change the world. So I think Google, the electric car that is being launched by Google, something like that came from this factory. You'll check. I mean, you'll see. You if you start reading, you will read about the Moonshot Factory. So major projects basically require a lot of effort and have very high impact as well. So this is the action priority matrix. Let's say you have 10 projects on your plate. You're a product manager, right? And this is very common for PMs. You have 10 items on your plate. The business team wants you to solve this. Customers want you to build the Reels feature of Instagram, but let's say the software engineers want you to build some other feature, and so on and so forth. You have 10 features on your plate, and you need to prioritize. So this action priority matrix just list down all the features, put the respective feature in each of these boxes. So let's say something would 5 or 6 things would come here, 1 or 2 things would come here, and some things would come here. So accordingly prioritize. I might want to take in the quick win first, right? Obviously, because low effort and high impact. And post which I might want to, let's say, start with this thing, and parallelly I might want to do this. So that is how we can sort of go about covering all of these features. Another way to prioritize features is RISE framework. Now this is what I use in whatever I prioritize. Whenever I prioritize projects, or whenever I prioritize something related to work, I use the RISE framework. Now this is basically I think this is the most commonly used one, and R stands for reach, I for impact, C for confidence, and E stands for effort. How much reach that product or that feature would have. So let's say if I'm launching WhatsApp Pay only in India, the reach, how much would be the reach? The number of active WhatsApp users in India, right? That would be the reach for WhatsApp Pay in India. Similarly, what would be the impact? Again, how many people I am impacting? Let's say I do a staged release of the product, and I want to just release the feature to the top 50 million people in terms of or let's say in a particular region. I just want to release the feature in the more educated or the more literate states of India, right? That kind of a thing. How much impact that thing has. Then what's the confidence level? Now there are few brackets, 50, 80 and 100. These are the 3 brackets that we take: 50% confidence, 80% and 100% confidence. What does this mean? This means that in all the metrics, in all the numbers that I take for each of these metrics, how much is my confidence? Let's say I'm not very confident about reach. So the confidence level would go down here. It might be 50%. Let's say I'm not confident about the impact, then again it would go down. And finally, we have the effort. How much effort it requires. How much effort is required in building that feature or that product, right? Uh, Now this is usually this is usually written down in man hours. How many hours per man, right? That kind of a thing, or labor days. So all that stuff is used here. For example, 16 people are using that feature and they spend about 50 hours per week, right? Which would be 800 hours per week. 800 hours spent in total in building that feature. So that kind of a thing. So this is used. This is effort. And what is the formula for for that final prioritization? It is reach into impact. So it is R into I into C by effort. Because higher the effort, the lower I want the feature to get prioritized, right? More effort means that I want the feature to be built last or later at a later point of time. So basically, a higher effort would mean that I might want to look at features which require lower effort. And a higher reach and a higher impact would again mean that I want the feature to be built faster. So this is the formula that is there, R into I into C divided by E. That is the RISE framework. So any doubts still here? One second. I'm opening a link. Now this framework, I forgot to tell you the background. There's a company in US that is called Intercom. That this framework was developed by that company, and it is now being widely used by many companies across the globe. So I'll quickly show you the official company webpage for RISE framework, because RISE is a very commonly used framework, and you might yourself use this framework when you become a product manager. Can you see the tab that I've shared? Okay.
Yes.
So this is the framework that was developed by this company Intercom, and they have explained this. They've explained the RISE framework here very beautifully: reach, effort, impact, and confidence. And they've explained each of these factors. So, reach, for example, 500 customers reach this point in the sign-up funnel each month. 30% choose the option. So, reach would be this. So, you can go through this and you can understand all the intricacies of using this framework. And then the impact part, high impact, low impact. Now, every company follows a different scale, right? And this Intercom, the original scale that they developed was 3 for massive impact, 2 for high impact, 1 for medium, and 0.5 for low impact. Now, all of this is very subjective, right? You cannot easily measure the impact of Reels feature or WhatsApp Pay feature, right? But all of this is very subjective, which is why we have the confidence metric, because we don't know for sure. We are not very confident in all of these numbers. That is where the confidence part comes in handy. And finally, we have the effort. Person months, man hours, all of those things can be used here. And finally, how is the score calculated? R into I into C divided by effort. This is the RISE score. And let's say there are 10 features. Some of them have a higher RISE score, means that they are more likely to get prioritized. They should be prioritized, right? They would have a higher priority that way. So that is the reach, impact, confidence, and effort framework. I'll share this link with you, and you can go through it whenever you have the time. All right. Yeah, someone has a question. Feel free to unmute and ask. So confidence cannot be precise. It's just a rough estimate. So you cannot precisely calculate confidence. Confidence is more subjective than all the other metrics, right? Someone might have high confidence and might just go ahead and put 100% there, but the other person, the other product manager or someone else in the team might have less confidence. So this is very subjective that way. Someone had one more question. How do we decide confidence? Like what would it be if the reach is low but the effort is high? So again, same thing. Confidence is very subjective, and I'll so if you go to this link, you will see that it is written that confidence lets you control your enthusiasm in some way, because you might be very enthusiastic for a project, you might love the project, but it might not seem very practical to all the other people. Let's say as a product manager, you might love the idea of building the Reels feature, but your software engineers might think otherwise. They might say that, oh, this person doesn't know anything, he doesn't know how much effort will be required to build this feature. He is over enthusiastic about that product, about that feature, but he doesn't even know that how much effort would be required in building that feature. Very real life scenario, right? I've seen people
Excuse me, Ishwan.
yeah.
Are you sharing a screen here?
No, I'm not sharing my screen right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just discussing that it is possible that the PM might be over enthusiastic about some idea, but other people are not that enthusiastic. Other people don't even are not aligned. So when you, as a product manager, again, this is a very important skill. You need to bring all your team members on board. So let's say if you are enthusiastic about the idea, you need to make others enthusiastic. You need to make all the team members enthusiastic about whatever feature you are going to build. Only then will that positive energy be there in the team, right? And if you're not motivating your team members enough that okay, this is the feature we need to build next, then you are not doing your job right. Because as a PM, you need to this is a part of your job that you need to motivate everyone. You need to make sure that everyone is aligned with your team. Everyone is aligned with your thought process. So that is one thing that you need to do. All right, so these were the prioritization frameworks: action priority matrix and RISE framework.